Batman versus Robin, which is Mark Waid, and I don't have my list up. Who's the artist?
Mark Waid and Mahmoud Asrar.
Yeah, so we knew that this is partly spinning out of his other book, Mark Waid, his World's Finest, because the Demon Neza is going to be involved. But what's interesting is it also feels very much like a follow-up to the Robin series we just had, because it's following up in plot beats from that. Obviously, it's got a lot of Damien in it, so...
Yeah. Knowing what I know about Williamson, and I know how, John's handpicked him, it definitely feels like he turned over his notebook to Mark Waid, and it was like, here, do your Mark Waid stuff.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's also referencing a lot of just recent Batman continuity.
Yep.
One big thing in particular we're going to get to very quickly. So the opening of the book is basically just explaining Damien's backstory of, born of Talia, trained by Batman, torn between two worlds, guilty over Alfred's death. And we get this very moody thing that I thought this was Damien in a hood going towards Wayne Manor.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's very dark and it's raining, but then there's like a flash of lightning. You see this figure standing in the hood. Bruce is inside the manor and he's basically just reminiscing, and obviously he's not living there right now. He's living in the city, so he's he's got this kind of like, oh, I'm visiting something that's not quite home anymore kind of vibe.
I did like that we were talking about, you lose all your money and you move to the city. Is not really how this goes. And now you're in a brownstone instead of the manor, and I really liked Wade's inner monologue for Bruce here.
Yeah, he's and he's talking about how something feels quite weird. He was pulled here for whatever reason, doesn't know why. And then when he opens the door, this figure that's walking towards the mansion turns out to be Alfred. Lightning behind him, and he's in shock. He doesn't remember anything. Like, he remembers what Alfred would have known right before he died, and doesn't know anything that's happened since then. He comes in thinking that Damien's in trouble because he remembers him being tied up and stuff like that. And
there's a sense of dread that he had for Master Damien. And dude, I was shocked. I had no clue.
Yeah,
Alfred was showing up.
I had no idea this was happening, and maybe it's just because I'm good at avoiding comic book, Twitter and stuff now. So I stay spoiler free. But this was kind of a shock, to the point where I was expecting it to be kind of revealed to be something, a few pages later. I didn't think it was going to be something where we got to the end of the issue and it's still open-ended of like, oh, is he really back?
Yeah.
Is this, is it his ghost? Is he going to leave again when the magic stuff that's going on like goes away? Or, I genuinely don't know.
Also, Waid went out of his way to say that Bruce is like, this can't be Alfred. We had him cremated. So remember in Williamson's run where he went to the grave and, thought about using the Lazarus resin? Mm-hmm. I feel like Waid threw that in to say that, like, there's something different about this resurrection. It's not just the Lazarus pit. It's not, there's stranger things afoot.
Well, I like that Bruce is skeptical because he immediately sort of starts running through his head, like, all the people this could be. Like, is it Clayface? Is it a shapeshifter? Is it a master of the sky? He sort of goes through a bunch of options, and Alfred actually is touched that he's so skeptical because he says he knows he's not hallucinating because Bruce is acting like Bruce. He knows that he's really talking to Batman because of the way he's acting in response. So Bruce questions a bunch of stuff, and Alfred gets everything right. He knows how to get into the cave. He knows things that no one else would. So I thought we'd definitely be getting Alfred back by next year after, the crisis was over, because, we're going to have resets and whatnot. I didn't expect it to happen here because I think this is really Alfred. And I feel that's something to do with Neza and all the magic being wonky. So, I mean, great. Resetting the status quo, if you will, of Batman. Yeah, it was a shocking start to the issue. Certainly the way that Bruce responded with skepticism and kind of this like slow realization that there's, it's getting harder and harder to doubt that it's real. I think it gave it a lot of weight. And then obviously you have the sort of the plot kind of attacks, if you will, when they go into the cave and Damien's there looking kind of evil with Jakeem, who's like doing his bidding, and Tim, the magic user, who's there as well.
Not Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's a fair way of putting it. But of course, Damien's just acting evil immediately, and Bruce is like, "Wait, what's going on here? You've turned. Why have you turned?"
Yeah.
And Alfred stays out of sight for a bit. The fight goes on. There's a lot of fighting in the cave. Some fun stuff here. Jakeem, when the genie comes out, he ends up like raiding the T-Rex, which this kind of feels like part of that Mark Waid, just like, I wanted to play with some characters that I've not gotten to use that much before, and
So remind me of Jakeem Thunder and the Thunderbolt. So what can the Thunderbolt actually do? It's just a pure magic being.
Yeah, he can possess things. So I'm assuming here he's possessing the T-Rex.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I assume he's doing that. Obviously, he can fire bolts at things, and he flies.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember because I know he has the pen, and when he says the word, right, it's very Shazam-esque. So I remembered all that, but I couldn't remember exactly what the Thunderbolt can do. And I was just like, well, okay, he's riding the T-Rex. That's cool by me.
Yeah, I think he can also just like make things appear and stuff sometimes as well. I feel like I've seen him do that, but so the fight goes on, and eventually Alfred steps in because and it's right as like some of the outfits are coming alive and fighting Batman.
Oh man,
like the old Robin outfit, the old Batman outfits with no heads or like bodies in them, or just attacking him.
Yep.
So Damien says he's not falling for it, and he tries to go after Alfred, and Batman swoops in to save him. And they end up having to run for it, and they escape in one of the bat boats. After Damien tries to shoot Batman, and he does shoot Batman, he just obviously the armor is able to take the hit. So the big thing here is obviously there's a great moment here where they're on the boat, and Alfred's saying he needs to help, fix whatever's happening with Damien. And there's a really great line here actually at the end of what I'm about to talk about, but the end of that page. It says, "We're up against an enemy that knows every weapon, defense, and every hiding spot we've got. Let's rescue him." So there's a nice sort of like attitude from Bruce about, because clearly something's wrong and he has to save Damien.
Yep.
But when Alfred's insisting that he wants to help, and Batman says, "No, you can't get involved. I need to keep you safe. I can't let this, your daughter and everything. They can't lose you again." And Alfred just screams, "That doesn't matter. Damn it, Bruce, he's my family too." That's the moment where Bruce believes.
Yep.
And hugs him. It's a beautiful page.
That hit me hard too, because we saw the guilt that Damien had through the Williamson arc, right?
Yeah.
And so just the fact that even this version of Alfred is so forgiving that Damien might have gotten him killed, because Alfred doesn't really know, right? Because Bruce doesn't come out and say it.
No, he says that he got his neck snapped, but I don't think he says that that Damien felt guilty about it, or that he felt responsible. Right.
So this is just Alfred going into Alfred mode and being like, "We're gonna do this." And it was a very nice, heartfelt moment. Yeah,
it's very good. There's some choices here on the page as well where to go into the art a little bit. Where he says that is just a red. Everything's red here because the lighting in the boat's all red. Yeah. But it's just this like one single panel, and then Bruce's reaction is on the opposite end in a separate panel, and the background of this page is just pure white, and then the main middle part is them hugging. It really does this thing where it feels that the worlds went away in the moment of the hug, where nothing else matters because he's got Alfred back. It really gives you that vibe. It's really well done in terms of the choice of the layout and stuff. So at the end of the issue is Damien going back to the Tower of Fate. And there's a lot of like magical artifacts sticking around. He's talking to someone who's like talking, either via telepathy or just like talking from a distance, saying, "Oh, we can get you anything, any sort of magical artifact we can use to fight them." Batman and Alfred go to try and see Zatanna because he's aware that this is magic based. Whatever's going on is obviously magic related. But when he goes to find Zatanna, she's actually been held up by a noose, and something's wrong with magic. Like Damien somehow has corrupted magic, and all magic users are in pain and are being tormented right now. So now they have to save everyone else, and it sounds like Damien's responsible for it. But the big reveal at the end is that he is working with Neza and Mother Soul. And given that we've read World's Finest, and Neza's whole thing was taking control of people, I think it's fairly safe to assume that he is taking control of Damien in some capacity.
Yeah, and Bruce hints at too dealing with Neza in his past, so it feels like this is a backdoor to make World's Finest a continuity story. You know, whereas kind of we thought like, oh, this is just Silver Agey fun. You know, it definitely feels like at least the Neza part is going to be not pretty important, but you know, informative to this going forward. And just the image of him sitting on that throne at Lazarus Island next to Mother Soul, it's a good image.
Yeah, with a bunch of JSA artifacts just all sitting around as if they've just taken whatever they wanted.
Yep.
No, I mean it's setting him up as a big villain, and the idea that they're using Damien is because you read Batman versus Robin, you see Damien acting out of character, and he is out of character because Damien by the end of Robin had made peace with Batman. He was starting to become more mellow. He was starting to become more mature. And then here he's like, the first time you see him in this, the way he's grinning, he's almost like grinning like the Joker when we first see him in this book.
There's definitely something off, and I felt that at first too. And then I was like, wait, what are we doing? Are we going backwards? And it's like, well, no. Once Bruce mentioned that Damien's not acting like himself, is when it really came together there with that plot line. But him grinning like the Joker was a dead giveaway. But it's the fact that he showed up with Jakeem Thunder and not Harry Potter.
Which was very random. It was a very random pair of characters for him to show up with.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay. But no, I do like that maybe through his hubris, he broke magic by allowing, Neza to come through. But like who? Because the last time we saw in World's Finest, Superman got him into the tomb. So how did Damien get him out? Because remember he had to lock it from the inside.
Why are we assuming Damien got him out?
Because he's in control of Damien. Like, maybe through his what word am I looking for here? Overconfidence or arrogance. Something with Mother Soul. Like I'm assuming this is Damien's doing by accident. Like I don't think he intended to summon him.
I mean, it may be, but like I have no reason. I mean, why not just Mother Soul is responsible for letting him out?
I mean, maybe. We did see she tried to do stuff with Lord Deathman. So
yeah, that was her plan. Like she was planning on doing stuff with Neza. So if anything, I would assume that just she's the one that got Neza out, and then Damien. He's using. Damien's there on Lazarus Island, and like they rope him in and take control of him or whatever. So I mean, we'll find out. I'm not too worried about that's just plot details. We'll find out.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not worried. It's one of those things where I'm trying to put it together with what we know. And just following the line that with just the rules, because as you always say with magic, it's important that magic has a defined set of rules, and what we know about this demon so far.
But the question is why is any of this resulted in Alfred coming back?
Right. That's the big mystery. I really like Destar's art throughout, but we got to the page with Etrigan and Jason Blood being caught in a state of transformation constantly.
It looks like the things. You're on the thing, that thing where it's like the two faces like sort of like twisted and separated. Yeah. It looks like that.
And then the Zatanna with where she's, what does she call it? The Schrodinger's noose. To where she's not dead, but she's not alive. And that's how she's able to do this. Just that image with her crooked neck, and it is very horrific. But Asrar balances that with like the stuff with Bruce and Alfred and how heartwarming that is. Some downright chilling stuff there too. It was just really, really strong art.
Yeah, no, the book looks pretty good throughout. I appreciate that it has kind of different modes. Like the opening's very moody, with all the emotional impact. All the fighting in the cave's quite wacky and silly because it's got a lot of big concepts that they're dealing with. Using the T-Rex, using the Thunderbolt, the outfits with no people in them. Like there's a lot of like wacky, very Silver Age stuff actually in that fight. So Waid's not abandoning that sensibility. But the rest of it does feel a bit more serious, and it feels like it is very much a part of modern continuity and what's going on. So if this is how we end up with Alfred back permanently, I'm not convinced it will be permanent. Part of me thinks that he's going to fade away at the end of this story when they saw, and they're going to know that. They're going to know that by fixing things that he's going to go away, and they're going to have to choose to do it, and it's going to be heartbreaking. That would be my guess right now. of what's going to happen with Alfred is that they're going to have to say goodbye, and because when they deal with Neza or whatever's going on, he's going to just fade away, and that's going to be very sad. But that's the hero's choice and all that, which almost makes me want him to never come back, because it'll almost ruin this a little bit if he just comes back permanently in like another year or something, you know?
Yeah, no, I just every time I know there's a crisis, there's that hard reset.
Of course, yeah.
For some things, so that's where I thought we'd be getting Alfred back, because it's been a couple of years at this point, you know, like they've had some restraint. Because I almost like ready to see Alfred in Robin, you know, just with the whole Lazarus stuff and like, you know, Williamson trying to do what he
when was it? Was it 2020?
That Alfred died?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're going back to the Bane stuff in Batman. So when did King stop writing? It was like 2019. Yeah, about. So I would guess it was probably 2018 by the time Alfred was dead. So.
That sounds possible. 26 issues a month, because it was something like in the 70s or something like that. So, okay. Yeah, it may have been 2018.
Yeah.
I guess it has lasted a bit longer than I've given it credit for. But yeah. You know, I think this book is kind of an interesting concoction in that it actually feels super important for, like, you know, modern Batman continuity in a way that I wasn't expecting. And maybe by the end of the mini, like, everything will be put back in the box and it won't actually affect anything. But right now, it feels like it could affect things quite a bit. At the very least, even if Alfred goes away again, it feels like we're dealing with some of the fallout of Damian's story from his Robin series, and that when he does get, you know, fixed or put back to normal, he's probably going to have some, you know, beats to play out as a result of, like, being taken control of like this. At the very least, I expect we'll get a genuine Damian and Alfred, like, reunion scene but before the end.
So I was off by a year. It was 2019.
Okay.
So you were I guess I'll say you were closer, because it was August 21st, 2019. So, you know, it's been 3 years since. So, which is forever in comics.
Yeah, it's not terrible, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, so this book is surprising to me for what it is. It's surprising to me that it feels like, you know, this could just be an arc in Batman. Obviously, it's very different from Zdarsky. All I mean is this could literally just be the main Batman book right now. If it, you know, it could be, and instead it's a mini, because, you know, Batman sells well enough that we can have like 4 or 5 Batman books at one time.
And usually I would complain about that, but I like that it feels more important. It feels like this Batman versus Robin story is getting a spotlight, because it's not in, you know, Tech or Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. So once again, Matt, despite complaining, is going to be reading multiple Batman books every month.
But you know what? If you put, you know, Waid, Zdarsky, Ramby, they're forcing my hand. Like, I can't not. Like, those are all creators that I really enjoy. So.
So there you go.
Embarrassment of riches.
I know. It's wild stuff. So what are you giving Batman versus Robin issue 1?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. 8.5. Art's very good without being great, I would say. You know, I really like the hug moment and stuff, and I think the different colors, you know, the red in the boat versus the blues in the cave, and the nighttime stuff versus like towards the end when it's like there was a lot of you know, purples and stuff with the like when they go to see Zatanna. You know, there's like a lot of good color schemes for the different scenes, and you know, so but no, it's good.